Well, the Rittenhouse verdict is in, and it appears that Lady Justice still has a heartbeat here in the United States of America, at least for now. Yes, a 7-woman, 5-man jury, including one black man, according to Joy Reid, has returned a verdict in the self-defense case of Kyle Rittenhouse. The jury spent, in my opinion, far too long deliberating whether the now 18-year-old would be locked up in a cell for the rest of his life or be freed after being attacked on August 25, 2020. In the end, they decided that Rittenhouse was not guilty of maliciously killing 2, from reports, worthless human beings and wounding another at the Kenosha peaceful protest in 2020. Now, before the jury even came in, Judge Bruce Schroeder, yet another racist involved, again according to Joy Reid, told those gathered in the courtroom not to react, and said if people couldn't control themselves, they'd be escorted out. Police were even out in full force deployed around the courthouse prior to the verdict being read. Now, there will be many, and I mean many, hot takes offered by special needs Democrats and their bloodthirsty mouth droolers in the mainstream media in the coming days, which will range from the typical idiocy to clinically insane. After all, they're practically suicidal because this verdict perfectly illustrates their constantly deteriorating ability to drive events with completely false and bullshit narratives. Now, before we dip into a few random examples of the leftist low IQ idiocy, let's take a quick commercial break to pay some bills. Our health and patience have really been challenged, so I found a remedy that works. 100% pure ESS 60 is incredible, and now you can buy it directly from the lab. They call it a miracle molecule because people sleep better, enjoy more energy, and mental focus with a simple spoonful in the morning. You can mix it in your salad, rub it on a steak, or even dip your bread in it. ESS 60 comes in 3 delicious organic oils: olive, avocado, and MCT coconut. This groundbreaking blend supports your immune system with powerful antioxidants and antiviral properties. ESS 60 delivers more than 172 times the power of vitamin C. It's such a powerful antioxidant that it helps neutralize free radicals to assist with detoxification. Don't wait to order your ESS 60 oil directly from the lab. You're going to love it, and it's good for pets too. Get $10 off today at www.c60evo.com/conservative-resurgence. That's www.c60evo.com/conservative-resurgence, or click that link in the description box. Okay, so by now, at least to me, it seems pretty obvious that the mainstream media wants this trial and every other to be conducted entirely in the court of leftist public opinion, and they want the rest of us to be too scared to opine. You know, kind of like with January 6th or our last presidential election, to name a few examples. The actual trial was intended to be a mere formality in turning red Kenosha in, I guess, purple Wisconsin. There was a damn good chance they might have gotten away with it. The worst mayor in American history, Bill de Blasio's reaction to the verdict perfectly sums up the leftist hive mind delusion when it comes to any white boy from a certain background thought to hold a patriotic, therefore racist belief like Rittenhouse. He tweeted out Anthony Hubert and Joseph Rosenbaum are victims. They should be alive today. The only reason they're not is because a violent, dangerous man chose to take a gun across state lines and start shooting people. To call this a miscarriage of justice is an understatement. Folks, has the entire leftist cult turned into Al Sharpton or something? Or is it just me? What a stone-cold idiot. But we should keep in mind, he probably still believes these 2 pieces of garbage were black. And I mean that. This douchebag probably really believes that. Anyways, good luck finding a more clear-cut case of self-defense. That's why the defense needed every bit of help they could get because the court of public opinion was not on their side. It was a political prosecution from the start. Indeed, the riot started because of a police shooting of Jacob Blake, an idiot that just so happened to be a black man in the middle of an attempted kidnapping trying to arm himself with a knife in front of 2 police officers. Everything that stemmed from that incident therefore became tainted with the issue of race. the children of the DNC currently calling themselves BLM and Antifa's favorite trope, of course. Therefore, Kyle Rittenhouse must be a racist, right? White, though actually with mixed heritage, had a gun, so obviously he's a Klansman. It didn't matter to the mob that the men he shot were white. You see, the mob was dictating the terms of this vicious and violent debate. You see, black criminal, hero, and white hero, criminal, didn't really fit this time around, but tough shit. Don't like it? Well, you're a racist too then. You see, Rittenhouse simply had to be the monster under the bed to continue this mostly peaceful avenging angels bullshit they've been spewing since last year. Also, their pride was wounded. You see, Rittenhouse also damaged their delusions of invincibility. The riots that began in the summer of last year were conducted in blue cities, where local citizens were prevented by law from adequately defending themselves. Also, let's not forget, if you paid close attention, those rioters were also protected by standoffish approaches to dealing with them by law enforcement. They began to believe that there were some sort of riot gods that could impose their will whenever they wanted to. Rittenhouse showed up amid this madness to help and brought a gun in case he needed to defend himself. And he did. Go figure. You see, the left prefers people to be more vulnerable than that. They almost immediately began lying about the legal particulars of Rittenhouse having a gun and using the shut-up bigot strategy, doubling down on the lie even after they'd been proven wrong. Legally armed Americans who defend themselves are hated by the lefties. They have been forever, mostly because we're an impediment to their imposition of mob rule that is their preferred method of governance. Oh, but looky here. Now they had one chubby-cheeked volunteer firefighter / first aid / lifeguard / Boy Scout / stop and help stranded cars on the side of the road all-American white boy in the Midwest muck up their entire works. Once it was determined that Rittenhouse had to become their Satan, the left began telling the tallest of tales. In a fairly current media story, he ran into the fray just looking for someone to shoot. By the time low-IQ blue-check liberals got a hold of this narrative, you'd have thought that Rittenhouse went in guns a-blazing as if he were starring in a John Wick movie. The narrative began unraveling almost the moment opening arguments in the trial were over. This is from the Washington Post's Megan McGarty, who is one of the few libtards in the mainstream media who isn't hysteria-driven. She tweeted out, "I was a Rittenhouse agnostic, tending towards probably guilty of something, until I watched the testimony. After, I just couldn't get beyond a reasonable doubt on self-defense in the Rosenbaum shooting, after which everything that follows looks like a tragedy, not murder." Now, Megan definitely is an anomaly. In the time it's taken me to record this damn video, the mainstream media has flooded with hot takes ranging from murderer to actual concerns about how to better protect future rioters. I shit you not, here it is. MSNBC tweets out, quote, "There will be more protests. There will obviously be more Kyle Rittenhouses out in these crowds." Joyce, whatever the hell, says, quote, "Do we need better laws to protect us better? And the answer is clearly yes today," unquote. It's obvious the entire American left outrage machine is awash in flop sweat right now. Rittenhouse's actions and the jury's verdict have exposed their vulnerabilities on all fronts. Despite having social media providing cover for them, Democrats and the mainstream media have found it difficult to keep up with their old ways now that everybody has the internet. Their lies are exposed with much greater ease these days. Whenever the Democrats, mainstream media, social media triumvirate try to shut down one source of truth, another pops up, like a wildfire that just can't be controlled anymore. Using a sports metaphor, their expected slam dunk was blocked and smacked right out of the arena on this one. Folks, Kyle Rittenhouse wasn't the only big winner today. The repudiation of the mainstream media's lies just gave hope for America's future. Now, Kyle needs to hit that big payday, like the Covington Catholic kid did. Even bigger. Hell, sue our drooler-in-chief himself for calling you a white supremacist or whatever.
So technically, as a legal matter, this case is over. Kyle Rittenhouse has been proclaimed innocent in a court of law. He's free to resume his life. But for the authoritarians among us, this is a disaster. They can't let it go. Why? Because they understand the Rittenhouse case is a referendum on the most basic right of all, the ancient right of self-defense. If Kyle Rittenhouse can save his own life from the mob, then you can too. And that drives them insane. So insane that the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee today, Jerry Nadler of New York, implied that Kyle Rittenhouse may face federal charges. Today's verdict, Nadler wrote, justifies federal review by the DOJ. So will Joe Biden's Justice Department indict Kyle Rittenhouse now that he's been acquitted by a jury in Wisconsin? It's hard to believe. You'd have to be deranged even to consider something like that. What would be the effect on the country? But you never know with these people. At the very least, this case will be used to justify taking your guns away. Bet on it. But if this does go to the feds, if Kyle Rittenhouse is prosecuted by the DOJ, the case will likely be handled by Kristen Clarke. She's the black nationalist who runs the so-called Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department, the division that does not protect your civil rights. In fact, it's trying to take them away. Last year, Clarke weighed in on the Rittenhouse case and immediately, not surprisingly, zeroed in on Rittenhouse's color, like his race was some kind of crime. She described him as a, quote, armed white man, murdering innocent protesters at, quote, point-blank range. What does his race have to do with anything? Well, it doesn't have anything to do with anything, of course, but it's been a fixation of the Democratic Party from the first moments. They've tried to racialize this case. And by the way, Kristen Clarke is far from the only member of the party to try and do that. Just hours after the jury's verdict, the chairman of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, Sean Patrick Maloney, a congressman, released this statement, quote, "It is disgusting and disturbing that someone was able to carry a loaded assault rifle into a protest against the unjust killing of Jacob Blake, an unarmed black man." End quote. Savor that for a minute. That's from the head of the Democratic Party's congressional campaign arm. Everything about it is wrong. Not just a lie, but factually untrue. Jacob Blake was not killed. He was also not unarmed. He was carrying a knife. We know that because he said he was carrying a knife. He was allegedly trying to kidnap a child. That's why the police showed up. And when he grabbed a knife, they shot him. Again, that's not in dispute. And he's still alive. But it doesn't matter because these people, facts don't matter, clearly. Sean Patrick Maloney has no interest in what actually happened. Kamala Harris said that she was proud of Jacob Blake last year. The Democratic Party is sticking with that, too. They are trying, and they have from the very beginning, to make this case into a racial divide, to further divide the country. Kamala Harris today said that the outcome of this case, the jury's verdict, was proof that our judicial system is not, quote, equitable, whatever that means. It needs to be changed. The Attorney General of the state of New York said it needs to be completely torn down and rebuilt, our justice system that we've had for 250 years. It's the best thing in our country. The idea that you are tried on the basis of the facts, not on the basis of what you look like. But they'd like to change that. ABC News, by the way, just reported the same thing. They told us, ABC News, a news corporation, has told us that, in fact, Jacob Blake was killed in Kenosha. Watch this.
Well, it's very significant. First, for the community of Kenosha, this city was traumatized by the police killing of a black man, Jacob Blake.
The police killing of a black man who is, in fact, still alive. So what are they doing when they tell lies like this? Lies that you can check very easily, or if you have a memory that extends into last year, you recall very well. Well, they're inciting people, of course. They're trying to whip people into a frenzy on the basis of claims that are totally, provably untrue. What kind of a frenzy? Well, consider this. This is from a senior advisor at the DCCC, the Democratic campaign arm. His name is Daiwan Tatro. He just issued an explicit call for riots. No justice, no peace, he wrote in the wake of the verdict. Who is Daiwan Tatro? Well, he, according to news reports, spent a decade in prison after he shot 2 people. Now he works for the Democratic Party, just in case you're interested in whose side they're on. But you knew that. Meanwhile, a spokesperson for Congressman Val Demings, another Democrat, offered this assessment. The core of the far-right movement is that they should be able to kill you if they want to. That's the official line of the Democratic Party tonight. Keep in mind, and if you watch the trial, you know this, Kyle Rittenhouse was walking down the street when he was charged by a convicted child rapist and then charged by a number of other people. He sought no conflict. There was never any evidence that he was the aggressor in any case. He was aggressed against.
Well, folks, that's about it for this one. I'm sure over the weekend I'll find more samples of Democrat brilliance on this topic. Until then, if you liked it, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment down below. There's a PayPal link in the description box, so please put $1 in the bucket on the way out the door. I'd like to thank everyone for all your donations. They're much needed and much appreciated. Now, with all that being said, we'll see you next time.
Come on, move. Move. Easy, easy.